Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Rotor Talk Live, Season 9, Episode 6, DJI Sales and Future Product Updates. Hope everyone is doing well. Got a full house in tonight. Steve Janess is here. Drone Shots, Jody, welcome. USA Drone Flyer, Joe America, welcome. Dale's Drone, welcome. CT Pirate, welcome. John, good to see you. Bud Bieber, DD Fellows, welcome. RJ Redding, Gator Drone, welcome. See John Flynn, welcome, John. Lauren, welcome, Lauren. Go team USA, by the way. Let's see who else we got. Carlos Moran, Art is here, and Gator Drone. All right. Hope everybody is doing well this evening. Kind of going through hockey withdrawal. Okay. I don't know about you all, but I'm kind of going through hockey. You know, I'm a big, huge Florida Panthers fan. And, you know, the Olympic hockey is coming on, and I did look at the schedule. And what's nice is I love ChatGPT, because to go out there and try to find this on my own, I really couldn't do it. But I got the time and dates for all the 3 first-round games for Team USA, and they're on at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, which is nice. And it'll be live, which is great. So the first game is Thursday against Latvia, and then they have 2 games coming up over the next 3 days. And then, depending upon those results, they'll move on to the next round after that. Oh. Okay. All right. So I'm excited for that, but it's like not normal. Okay. It's like, you know, at least 3 or 4 times a week, you know, I watch a hockey game, and it's for the next few weeks, it's going to be kind of right in the middle of the season too. That's kind of a difficult one. On a very nice note, tomorrow, Valerie and I will be celebrating our 15th wedding anniversary. Yeah. She has put up with me for 15 years, okay? That, you know, if you want proof that there's a God above, there's your proof, okay? She has put up with me for 15 years. And I had to show you the gift that she got me. It is just absolutely fantastic. And it was a little scented candle, and it's, well, little scented thing. It looked real nice. I go, oh, this is real nice. And it said on there, we put up with each other's, you know what, for 15 years. Just it was one of the most perfect gifts she's ever gotten me. I just absolutely love it. So but tomorrow's going to be a nice day. Also, tomorrow on my Facebook, if you are on my Facebook, make sure you look for a special video that I put together. What I did was I went between ChatGPT, I used their image maker, and I went with Grok. That's Elon's AI, and use their video processing and put together a special 1-minute video of our wedding. And I thought it came out really well. It took a lot of work and a lot of effort, but it'll be coming out tomorrow. So be sure to look for that. It was a lot of fun. I had a great time doing it. So how many of you guys watched last night, Drone Nation? Wasn't that a great show? Ron is a genius with an idea for coming up for things. I told Ron, I said, you know, I wish I was as smart as you. That was just absolutely spot on. It was a lot of fun. And it was a lot of fun to be on the show last night too. That was great. And well, you know, we all know that there was a lot of behind the scenes maneuvering to make sure that the Mavic 4 Pro won last night. No, I'm just kidding. It was fun, and it really served a great purpose last night. I don't know if you thank you, RJ. I appreciate that. It was so much fun to be a part of that. And, you know, the purpose, and really kind of the purpose was self-evident, but we got to see how great all these drones were. And, you know, from the Neo 2 to the Mini 5 Pro to the Mavic 4 Pro, you know, each of them are fantastic drones. And if you have them, which I have all 3 of them, they are great drones. They're absolutely fantastic drones. And you know, there was no real winners or losers here. Everybody was a winner last night. So again, it was a lot of fun. If you didn't watch it, catch it on replay. We had a total blast last night. It was a lot of fun. And you know, just kind of go from there. Okay. All right. Okay. Got some articles here. News is kind of thin, but we're gonna make it do. Also, as we do, we have, we normally we have Steeler Nation, but this week it's going to be Super Bowl Nation sprinkled in with Steeler head coach Mike McCarthy Nation, and kind of see where things are with all that. So we'll stay tuned for that. That'll be probably about 10-15 minutes before the end of this, before the top of the hour. So, all right, Ron's going to join me here in a little bit. Okay, now the first article that I got here, and let me see if doing this right. All right. I believe Clark County, and don't get me wrong, Bob Dempsey or Tom Dowling, if you guys are watching, I think it's where you guys live. I'm not sure, or maybe Henderson. But Clark County expands drone approved parks from 8 to 28 after local pilots lobby the commission. Clark County, Nevada, just gave recreational drone flyers in the Las Vegas area something they rarely get, more places to fly. The county's Department of Parks and Rec updated its drone UAV operation policy on November 10th, expanding its list of approved parks from roughly 8 to 28. This is a 3.5 increase, and it did not happen by accident. The development, Clark County's county policy 515 now lists 28 county parks where recreational drone operations are allowed, up from roughly 8 in the previous version. Why it happened, members of the Vegas Drone Meetup and LVHD, and thank you, Bob Dempsey, for that, attended county commission meetings and lobbied for expanded access. The catch, smaller drones designed for racing and maneuvers still require special use permit from the Parks and Rec Department. Okay, and kudos to Bob Dempsey for that. Bob, that was just, if you're watching or if you see it on replay, and Tom Dowling as well, because I know you're involved with that. Kudos to both of you guys. That is absolutely fantastic. And that is exactly what we need to do locally to do that, okay? Just because we got all this crap coming down from DJI, we can still get out there and fly our drones, okay? And this is a great example of working with your local government and partnering with them and doing that, because it's, you all know, I'm preaching to the choir. You all know how much fun and enjoyment. And I think I saw one of you, I don't know who it was, saying, we're down in the dumps. The weather's bad. And I got out and flew today and I was better. And that's exactly, Bill Thomas's channel is so appropriately named Drone Therapy, because it really is therapy. And it's like that for me. I go out, I enjoy myself. I have such a great time when I go out there. I mean, it is just absolutely fantastic when I go out and after I fly a drone. It's just, I can't say that enough. It's just way too much fun. I really, 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 really enjoy doing that. So, that's one of the things here that I think is going to be very beneficial, is to be able to do things like that when you're doing that. Now, the old policy left Vegas drone pilots with few options, and you can see right here about that right there. And that's one of the things that I think you need to be very wary of as far as that's concerned. These old policies here with a lot of these places, but you can see the updated policy adds 20 new parks to the approved list, and you can see it lists them all out here. Grassroots advocacy made this happen, and again, and it's the Facebook post by Bob Dempsey. And again, I got to say this: my hat's off to Bob, and I know Tom's involved with it too, in getting this to take place. And there was a reason I went with this as a lead article, because it's always good to see where you can affect positive change for drones and the drone community here. And Bob and Tom did this. So kudos to you guys. Our hats are off to you. Congratulations. It was just absolutely fantastic. It's great to see that you guys were a part of that. That's just, I can't say enough great things about that. That's just absolutely fantastic. So, and I don't know why I'm sitting in a small screen right here, but okay. All right. Anyway, so we'll move on here. Let's see here. All right. DJI, as you all know, the Osmo 360 was on sale for a while. I think it probably still is on sale. And they put out a great article here on how to shoot epic ski footage with DJI Osmo 360 camera. And it talked about the steps that you need to take in order to be able to do that here. You know, and it talked about in terms of the mounts that you use, and get it, and what kind of shots you're able to take, and how to get that set up. Invisible selfie stick, which it does have that, and you can see right, cold weather prep, what to watch out for, keep batteries warm, protect your lens and ports, and secure mounts. Okay, pro level ski shooting tips right there. POV immersion, invisible stick, third person viewer, diverse angles, and shoot wide and slow motion. Fun tricks with DJI Mimo app. It shows you how to motion blur, dashboard overlays, camera movement templates, reframing 360 footage. And again, I don't know how well the Mimo app works with that. I'm not familiar with how it works with the Osmo 360. I know how it's worked with like the Pocket 4 and the action cams before, and I haven't really used it a whole lot. But you know, I'd be real anxious to find out. You know, I don't know too many people that have an Osmo 360, so I'd really kind of like to hear how that works and how well that is. I'm going to disappear for a second so I can try to get myself back in the screen. Okay, apparently, okay, I know what it is. There we go. Wow. The miracle of technology right there. Absolutely fantastic. So, you know, one of the things that we have seen recently is drones have been on sale. DJI drones have been on sale recently, and that's just absolutely fantastic. And the first one that I wanted to start out with is one of the ones, and I actually picked it up, and it's actually my second one here. And let me go ahead and share this. All right, DJI Mini 5 Pro now available with Amazon starting at $759 with Prime shipping. I mean, seriously, you absolutely cannot beat this deal. And I did pick one up. I mean, it has one battery and the M3 controller, but still, you know, I did purchase additional batteries, but I have the other controllers. I also have a second smart controller as well too. So, you know, it really lends itself. I mean, the pricing on it is absolutely fantastic, and it shows the current Amazon pricing here. It starts out at $759. I was out there earlier today. I think it goes up to $1199 for the Fly More combo with the extended battery, and that's a fantastic deal. That really is. What makes the Mini 5 Pro so special? 1-inch CMOS sensor, Nightscape omnidirectional obstacle sensing, 225-degree gimbal rotation for that kind of a drone, that size of a drone. That is fantastic. Battery life ranges from 34 minutes with the standard batteries to 52 minutes with the intelligent flight batteries. And realistically speaking, you know, with the intelligent flight battery plus, you'll probably get about 34 minutes in real world scenarios. So just to kind of let you guys know which configuration should you buy, and it kind of gives you some guidance here. I mean, if you're looking to get extra batteries with it, do it. I would by all means. Hey, Ron, how are you, sir?
Hello, Bill. How are you tonight?
Doing good, doing good. Talking about the Mini 5 Pro being on sale for $759 at Amazon.
Right. It's, you know, it's been that price for, you know, on and off for a while now. So, you know, that's been a steady price. So you've been able to pick that up for a while. And of course, you know, that's a tremendous starting buy-in price of $759, you know, compared to what else is out there. I mean, I don't think you can do better in that price range. You can't do better at the under $1,000 price range.
No, you really can't, Ron. I agree 100% with that.
And if you have an older Mini 4 or 3 around, you have some of the like the plus batteries around from that. You know, maybe you could get by with just one battery configuration. You got other batteries to put in there from older minis.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And you know, that's
and you may already have an RC2 controller from another drone like the Air 3S something. So you may not need the smart controller here. You may already have it. You may have batteries. So that's a really good way to get into a Mini 3 if you have the accessories already.
Exactly. And then that's the next article that I was going to put up here is, in conjunction with the Mini 5 Pro, the Mini 3 Pro is on sale. And let's go ahead and get that on here. And I know, we did touch on this last week. It's been on sale for a while, but I want to make people aware of this, Ron, because
That's
575.
the Play Mini 3, Bill. You would call it the Mini 3 Pro. I don't want to
That's
confuse
right. I'm
people
sorry.
because
That's right. The
that
DJI
that
Mini
that
3.
was a drone that's discontinued now.
Right. The DJI Mini 3 is the perfect first drone. It's on sale for it's 575. What, for the fly mode with the controller and the 3 batteries in it and the case. And I'm Ron, you can't really pass something like that up. I mean, that's just absolutely fantastic.
No, I mean that's a great combo, especially if the 759 or the Mini 5 Pro is a little bit too much for you, or you don't have the extra batteries and that now that's the RC1, so that's a little bit of a slower of a controller than the RC2 that we're used to.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. It doesn't have a lot of the features, and you're right, the memory is probably a little bit less on that. But I mean, it really takes some great photos. It really takes some great video on there. And that should be an option that you should consider. And again, if you're looking to try to save money, that will absolutely do it.
And times you could pick that drone up, just the drone itself just a simple configuration, one battery and controller for. I think that you can get it for under $400 now if you hit the right sale.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think it's been as low as 359 with just base controller and one battery.
Well, and if you remember last week, Lauren, when he was in the chat, dropped something in there. He said, you'll find out in mid next month why all these are on sale. The Lido is coming up real soon.
And that'll replace almost all that'll be a better budget drone than what they have now. So basically take the place of all the other budget drones.
Exactly. And that's going to be a real good entry level drone for people.
So what we're telling people is these are great deals here. But if you could wait a little bit, maybe hang out and see what the Lido has to offer, Bill.
Yeah, I would. If I were in a position to wait, I would definitely wait, because you'd want to see what all is going to be with the Lido. And from everything that we've seen so far on that, and there hasn't been any updates on that this week, I checked. For everything we've seen, it's really going to encompass a lot. It's really going to be, it's kind of like the Mini 4K series rebranded, so to speak. It's probably the body shell may be a little bit different on side. Definitely the electronics are, and it's going to be updated. It's definitely going to have a better camera and probably better battery life with that, and controller. So it's going to be exciting to see.
And we've already seen it's got the SEC approval, so it will be available in a stateside.
Yeah. So it's just a matter of timing right now for that. I mean, we have, and we're going to talk about the Pocket 4 and the Avata 360 here in a bit. But I wanted to make mention of this because I think it's important that there is a reason for these sales that are going on with DJI right now. And the reason is the Lido is coming up, and it's going to be exciting.
Plus products like the Mini 3 is at least 2 years or older or running. So I mean, it's time to basically take that out of the line too.
Yeah, and that's a good point, Ron. It's everything has its life cycle in terms of its usefulness, and my first experience with that was the Mavic Pro, and then the Mavic Pro 2 coming out. Okay. The Mavic Pro had reached its, I don't want to say end of life, but where they really couldn't take it anymore with firmware updates, and it really needed the new camera, new batteries, and so forth. And and we saw that evolution. I mean, it was real evident, and you saw the stark contrast when you and I flew together at Reddington Beach. The stark contrast between your Mavic Pro and then my Mavic Pro 2. And it was like night and day. It really was. I mean, we're just, looking at your footage, it's all, Mavic Pro was great for its time. And then the Mavic Pro 2 was like, wow, it was like, this is incredible.
But you used the right word a while ago, the evolution and whatever. I mean, the Mavic Pro, the first one, that was a revolution. That was the first great folding drone ever. You know what I mean? And the 2 was an evolution, but it wasn't the revolution that the Mavic 1 was. Because before that, there was no such thing as like a foldable compact travel drone.
Exactly. It started, it really, DJI once again leads the industry, and there's a reason they lead the industry is when they do the innovation. Like, all you had were like the style of the Phantom 4 type drones that were out there. with the legs and the body and everything like that. And then all of a sudden, boom, DJI comes out with one that you can fold up and is compact and you don't need a massive.
Even though it didn't have the camera quality of say the Phantom 4 Pro, whatever, it had more features in it than any drone you ever saw before.
Exactly. And that really is kind of fantastic here. Now we're going to start out with and I wanted to go ahead with this. I did see an article here in the Osmo Pocket 4, and I wanted to go ahead and share that here. And this was from Drone DJ from the other day. So let's go ahead and put this up here. All right. DJI Osmo Pocket 4 Pro leak confirms US launch. And this was from February 6th. So it was just a few days ago. DJI has done it again. The company that insists it keeps its secrets locked in a digital vault somehow keeps them accidentally letting them out, slip through regulatory filings, leak photos, and conveniently timed spec drops. Okay. And DJI's favorite magic trick, pretend surprise. And there's an actual picture of that right here. And then here's the FCC label that we saw. The Pro model carries its own FCC ID and its own model number, which means it's very clear it's not a renamed version or a late stage tweak. This is a second camera. So there definitely are going to be two out there. Two cameras, twice the fun, twice the money. 1.54 milliamp hour battery, an upgrade from the Pocket 3 and matching what's expected from the standard Pocket 4. A dual lens camera system, one pocket for casual creators, one pocket for people who hear the word workflow and nod seriously. Absolutely, because if you can sell one camera, why not sell two? And Drone XL's take, and I think we had talked about this, Ron. The one thing with this camera right here, and you can see, all right, the normal one, the regular Pocket 4 is still something that's going to be able to fit in your pocket. However, the Pocket 4 Pro is not going to be one that's going to be able to fit in the pocket. It's for people who take their workflow seriously, like the article said back there.
For people who want to walk around holding a big camera all the time in their hand with no place to put it set back in the case. But here's the what do you call it? The thing in the room here, whatever. A lot of leaked photos show what looks to be Insta360 also has their own pocket type camera in the wild. You've seen a lot of leaked photos of that or whatever. So we may have dual pocket cameras coming up in the next few months, Bill, and that'll be a first because nobody but DJI is really. I mean, a couple smaller companies have made knockoff looking pocket cameras, but nobody, with the kind of camera experience that Insta360 brings has ever tried to compete with them in this.
Right.
Category.
And I think
that'd be interesting.
If I remember, I think Feeney put one out.
Feeney had a kind of a pocket, knockoff, but of course, use a secondary. You sacrifice camera quality to go to the Phoebe version,
Yeah, exactly.
I think the problem with the Phoebe Pocket was kind of a rival to the Pocket 1, but unfortunately, it was coming out at the time the Pocket 2 was coming out. So it almost was, it was almost dead on arrival as far as camera quality.
Yeah, the timing on it was not good because, like you said, when it came out, it was kind of in between. And it really, it was kind of like, oh, okay, it's like a yawn. Okay, what's new on this? And there's nothing that's new on it, and it really just kind of languished there. And of course, it's a Femi. What else can you say?
Well, I think the Horizon was good on the pocket camera, but yeah,
yeah.
And of course, it must have not been real successful, Bill, because there was never a second version of that camera for Femi.
Yeah, exactly. And Dr. Ted, you're right. We miss him. We miss him a lot, Akarasho. So yeah, thank you for remembering that. So, but yeah, that's a good point about this. So, to kind of switch gears here a little bit, the talk that we're hearing lately, on the Pocket 4 is probably mid to late March, and what we're hearing on probably the Avata 360 is possibly the same time frame. So you may see a day or two where it's back-to-back releases, something along those lines. And
I wouldn't be surprised to see those products slip into April, Bill.
You're probably right, Ron, because I think what's going to happen, we're going to see the Lido come out in March, and I think you're right. I think we'll probably see the Pocket 4 and
I
Avata
think those
360.
two products still may be in the testing phase, so they may have not got all the bugs ironed out in the firmware yet.
You're probably right, and that's probably why they're delaying it. Although, we saw those pictures of the Avata 360 boxes, but who knows? It's real easy. Well, it's fairly easy to if you have a good AI engine to generate some images like that. So who knows? I mean, who knows? We'll kind of see where that goes. But we've talked about specs, we've talked about pricing, availability. It's just one of those things. And I think this is one thing both Ron and I we really kind of want to stress with you guys. You want to be an early adopter, and I get it, and I understand that. But you know what? If you wait a week after it comes out, say on eBay, all right, sit and wait a week because you're gonna pay too much money if you buy it right away. I can guarantee you that. And I had somebody send me a note because I told them this. I said, I waited a week after the Neo 2 came out and I bought it and I got it for $100 less. All right. And I had the same thing. Somebody sent me, Bill, thank you for telling me that. I waited a week and I saved $150. So,
Yeah.
that word to the wise.
I did the same thing, and I saved a lot more than $100 waiting a while to get the Mavic 4 Pro, and it wasn't a week. I waited a month, 2 months, and saved $1,000 or whatever, Bill.
Exactly. So you really got if you're not if the money is burning a hole in your pocket, by all means go out there and spend it. If it's not, wait, be patient, and then when you see prices start to come down, that would probably be a time to get out there and to take a look at things. And of course,
Bill, we have a question in chat from Jose about the Avata 360. It's like the fourth comment back.
Let me see here. No, Joseph, not yet. That's going to be
it
Jose.
hasn't been released. Not even in China. Nowhere has it been released yet.
It's not officially been released anywhere. And right now, Ron and I are conjecturing it's probably going to be March sometime because they're going to release the Lido in April or in March is what we're kind of thinking. So it'll probably be April sometime before we see the Avata 360 or Pocket 4. So kind of stay tuned for that. And our ears been to the ground. And it's real interesting because I just went out, Jasper Ellens and also Igor, they really haven't had any updates out on their pages as well. I also looked, there's a DJI rumors out on X on Twitter, and there hasn't been any updates on that either as well. Nothing on Drone XL or Drone DJ. So the news is really kind of, we've had it been going on for a couple of weeks, but this is the latest. I mean,
this is always a slow time of year. For these products. Whatever, you got the Chinese New Year's happening now, and again, it's always a slow time of year. I mean, we've seen products come out this time of year, but they're usually like a flip type product or a mini 4K. They're usually not like a what we call it, it's not usually like a Halo type product or whatever, or a new category. It's usually just something that's just kind of refurbished of another older drone.
It's not going to be a product leader. It's not going to be like a Mavic 5 Pro or something along those lines. It'll be like a bottom tier kind of a product, lower on the food chain, so to speak. And that's a good point, Ron.
And that'll be the Lido, as you said, for March or whatever, like that kind of lower tier product, and the higher tier products, like, the 360 and the Pocket for coming, late March, April, that time period.
Yeah, and that's and it's also, and Morad brought up another great point too. Chinese New Year is coming up, so things. I mean, from my understanding and from the research that I've done, pretty much that whole country, China, is shut down during Chinese New Year's. I mean, just it's just minimal commerce is taking place during that time.
Well, think Christmas week in the U.S.
Exactly. That's exactly what it's like. I mean, really commerce isn't done during that time frame. So, if you want to do something if you're buying something from eBay seller over in China, do it before Chinese New Year's, because it's just going to sit there for a week while Chinese New Year's goes on. They won't do anything and process your order. So that's kind of like a word to the wise if you're trying to do some business over there. But But no, I said Ron brought brings up that great point too. With what DJI chooses typically to lead out with during the start of the year, it's not going to be a top tier product. It's going to be a lower tier type of product. Not, and that's a marketing strategy. That's to get people interested in it and invigorated in it, and to start talking about it.
I guess that's a worldwide thing that people, are short of money at the beginning of the year because, I mean, not everybody's a Christian country, but I think whether you're Christian or not, I think a lot of people spend a lot of money around, the end of the year or whatever, beginning of the new year. So I think everybody's kind of short on cash for January for worldwide.
Exactly. Now, one of the things that I wanted to bring up, and first of all, Ron, I thoroughly enjoyed Drone Nation, being on Drone Nation last night. That was just such a great show that you did, and the idea behind that was absolutely fantastic, and that's why I brought this Mavic 4
Bill,
Pro.
I want to thank you so much for being part of it. We couldn't have done it without you, and thanks so much for being part of it. And again, it kind of like I always want to do something kind of played off that Super Bowl type momentum or whatever. And I mean, it wasn't scientific. Just because a Mavic 4.1 doesn't mean it's the best drone for you or whatever. But it was just a good way to talk about the features of all those drones. And I mean, we had 3 winners, Bill. I mean, we had 3 champs last night, right? The Neo 2, Mini 5, and Mavic 4.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that's why I put that article up there briefly, and it was a great reminder, and it served as a great reminder. It should, to all of us, whether we have a Neo 2, a Mini 5 Pro, or a Mavic 4 Pro, that we have purchased some incredible technology from DJI. And I think that's the thing that probably gets under our skin the most about what's gone on here in the United States, and with around, as far as as being DJI being blacklisted, and how grossly unfair it is and everything. But I think the one thing too is it kind of also reminds us, the old adage is, go out there and fly and enjoy your drone. And Ron, somebody earlier in the chat, just when the show was starting, had said, it was a dreary, rainy kind of day today. I went out and I flew my drone, and I felt better afterwards. And God bless Bill Thomas and naming his channel Drone Therapy, because it really is that. I know for you, I know for me, I know for Marcus and Johnny and Ray and everybody, we go out and fly, you feel better. It feels invigorating. You've gone out there and that you've done that. And also in conjunction with that too, and I was also kind of thinking about that. All right, how many of you can say that you actually passed? You have it's not a private pilot's license, but you have a pilot's license. Okay, all of us who have a remote 107 pilots, we have pilot licenses. Okay, I would have never, if you would have told me, 10 plus years ago that I'd have a pilot's license, I passed a test, an exam from the FAA, and have a pilot's license, I'd have said, put you in the funny farm. Okay.
Yeah,
that's never going to happen. And here we are. I mean, seriously, so many of us have our Part 107s, which is fantastic. They really kind of make it bulletproof to study for it and to understand it. But it really kind of lends itself. It's such an incredible hobby, and it's not going, just because DJI is doing what it's doing, it's not going anywhere, guys. We're not caving in. We're not disappearing.
No, I'm glad you brought that up here. We had a comment. It's kind of back here, but George Buchanan, W6I, says, for a rookie, he means he's a rookie. Will Chinese drones legally function in 2026? And George, the best I can explain is any drone that was, approved. Well, let me make it simpler. Any drone that you bought 2025 and earlier, it's still as legal to fly as it was the day you bought it. Okay,
exactly.
You're good or whatever. It's grandfathered in, is the old word. But also, any drone that was approved by the FCC as of the 23rd of February will also be legal, and that's why we're talking about the Lido products, the 360 drone, and even the pocket camera, because they all got their FCC approvals. So all those products will be legal to purchase and use in the U.S., as well as any drone made and released prior to December 23rd, 2025. Did I explain that clearly, Bill?
Yes, you did, Ron.
Okay.
Yes, you did. I mean, it's just, it's so nice because we still have products to look forward to this year. We weren't when the blacklist became official back in December. It wasn't doom and gloom and tails between our legs and woe is me. I I feel like Eeyore from Winning the Pooh. No, it isn't. We have the two Litos to look forward to. We have the Avata 360 to look forward to. We have the two pocket versions of the Pocket 4 to look to. And we also, I mean, they put it out. We're going to get firmware updates this year. So, and as Ron pointed out, and this is a really good point about the firmware updates. And I know I've said it the past several shows, but I kind of want to keep harping on it. Okay. When by the time, the products that are out right now, and the calendar turns to January 2027. Okay. Product updates and firmware updates are going to really slow down for like the Air 3S, for the Mini 5 Pro, in prior drones, and the Mavic 4 Pro. They're really going to kind of slow down because basically the whole idea behind a firmware update, it fixes miscellaneous bugs and fixes is really what it is. They do plan on adding some features, which is really nice, but that's not really the main purpose of the firmware update. The firmware update is to make sure your drone operates at or near capacity as it was intended and designed to do. And they come out with these bug fixes and updates. These are small things that have been found, but it could be crucial and it could cause your drone to crash. So that's why, you wait a few days and then you go out, after some other people have updated it and there's really no problems, you update them. So, when the clock turns to January 2027 and supposedly we can't do our firmware updates anymore, we'll see where that comes. That's a year from now. We don't know, but we know this year we can be able to do them. So do them when they come out. Be careful, just mind your P's and Q's as far as that's concerned. When it's time, get out there, see how other people have done. If you want to hold back a day or two and then go ahead and do it. But these ones that are miscellaneous bugs and fixes and updates, do those because they're not really going to hurt your drone. It's these ones that add a lot of features that could have an impact. I don't know, but I'm saying don't worry about it right now. Okay, don't you got it, update it. I mean, just do it. I mean, it makes perfect sense to do that, Ron.
But on the flip side of the coin, Bill, you could pull a Mavic 4 out of the box. You never open. You bought it, never opened it, whatever. You could turn that thing on, not ever hook it up to the internet, and fly it around, and probably not have any issues, Bill.
Exactly. I mean, these drones are kind of foolproof, so to speak. And it really, it's not rocket science. Okay. You take these out of the box, they're new, they may have been sitting on the shelf for 3 or 4 months. You don't even need to do the firmware update. It's going to go out there and fly. It's going to return to home. You're going to do waypoints or hyperlapses or anything. It's going to function as intended out of the box. That's not going to be a problem. So, and that's the same thing here. Is what we're saying is, if we reach a point where, okay, they cut off soft firmware updates for us by January next year, most of our drones, the drones that we have out now, are going to have all those critical updates have already been done. So it's not going to happen. Now, let's say
that's not to say that they didn't have some important safety update they wanted to pass through that the FCC would not, give them permission to send like a safety update through or something like that.
Exactly. I was just going to say that, Ron. Thank you for bringing that up. If there's something that's critical to the function of the safe operation of the drone, the FCC will obviously look at these things on a case-by-case basis. And if they decide, yeah, this is true, they'll go ahead and they'll allow these firmware updates. But conversely, and I really kind of want to caution people on this, we don't know what's going to happen until January next year.
We don't.
But, I do want to caution people that if they say, firmware updates are stopped, let's say January 31st, 2027. Okay. So February 1st, 2027, if you try to do it, let's say you have the whatchamacallit on your computer.
With that, the DJI app for updating. Yeah.
The DJI Assistant, DJI Assistant for consumer drones. Yeah. Let's say you have that, and let's say you have what's that firewall called?
Oh yeah. Where you can make the drone seem like you come from another country. Yeah.
You have that firewall that masks your IP address. I forget what you guys know the terminology. Yeah. Anyway, if you go out there and do that, basically it's illegal. Okay. even if you are hiding behind that firewall and everything, and you can run it and run it successfully, it's really kind of illegal. So you technically, yeah, you are breaking the law. So just want to caution you guys. Of course, we don't know what's going to happen. We don't know where that's going to go. So we'll see how that plays out when it comes closer to that time. But I want to let people know and be aware that
The chat helped us out, Bill. VPN.
VPN. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Brad. Appreciate that. Yeah, VPN. If you have a VPN, master IP address, so you don't really know where it's coming from, which is fine in a lot of instances. That's fine. But Big Brother has its ways. Let me
Hey,
tell
Bill, I'm
you.
going to roll the conversation back about 5 minutes. We were talking about, we still have plenty to talk about. We do, Bill, but what about say coming around May when all these products we just talked about, Lido, Pocket, 360. What about when all those products get released and they're already out or whatever? Then what do we do for the rest of the year?
That's true. That's very true. And let's say, and I'll just throw this out here for grins and giggles. Let's say a Mavic 5 Pro is going to be introduced.
Actually, let's make it more realistic. What about the Air 4 shows up this summer?
The Air 4. Okay, that's really that. You're right, Ron. Let's say an Air 4 shows up on the radar here. Okay. Well, you know what? And I'm gonna what I just said. All right, applies here as well too. What I said about being able to use a VPN to mask that and still do the firmware update. You could still go out to China or South Korea or Japan and buy one of those, but guess what? Legally, you cannot fly that in the United States. I mean, that's part of the law. That's part of the way it is. Okay.
So you think when the Air 4 comes out, if it comes out, we're making things up here. Do you think all our friends in South Korea, Japan, and China all have it right in their eBay sites, just like they do the current drones?
That's a really good question, Ron. That's really good because I assume, and this is just me, I would think that a lot of these sites that are up in Korea and Japan are really kind of just it's just they really focus on one country, the United States, and being able to ship to them and have purchases from them. I bet if you were to look at all these sellers and ask them, that you'd probably find out that maybe 90% of their business or 75% of their business comes from the United States.
Oh yeah,
So,
because they can't buy say South Korea, they can't buy the drone to South Korea and mark them up and sell them to somebody who's walked down the store and pick one up. So yeah, they're hardly selling any local.
yeah, and just to let everybody know how these places work, okay? These are not corporations with storefronts, okay? These are people out of their houses, and what they do is they'll go down to their retailer, they'll buy the drone, and then they'll, when you sell them, they'll go out there, buy it, and then they'll package it up and they'll sell it to you. All right. That's how they work there.
They may even take your order, and once your order's in, they'll run down the store and buy it.
Exactly. Okay. Ron's right. It's exactly how they work over there. So, yeah, it's kind of like that's how that and when it comes to say like the Air 4, the Air 4S comes out, be like, well, that's going to be they're going to not have the sales that they had to the United
apparently
States.
Since they're probably doing most of their business in the U.S., they're going to be out of business come the middle of this year if they don't try to sell the illegal drones.
Exactly. So, Ron, I don't think, and this is just me, I don't think this is over yet in terms of where things really end up landing because
so the fat lady really hasn't sung yet on this.
I don't think so. I think there's more to, as Paul Harvey used to say, and now the rest of the story. And I think we haven't seen that part yet. So,
well, how about the even more important question, Bill? Whether they're going to sell the drones? Well, if we know the Air 4 won't be released in the U.S., you can't get in the U.S., but we still cover all the leaks and features and things like that on a drone that most of our audience cannot buy.
Yeah, I will because it's like our neighbors to the north, Lauren in Canada. Okay, they'll be able to buy them, and we have a lot of our friends from the great country up north who is going to lose to Team USA in ice hockey. I'm already saying it right now. Go Team USA. No, but they do that. In a lot of countries that were our friends over in the UK and Europe, who watch our shows. So yeah, we'll still absolutely, it's drone news. It's going to get covered just because we can't buy them. All right. Doesn't mean we're not going to cover them. And it doesn't mean we're not going to still be excited about it. It's just, we won't be able to do hands-on with them, which will be, be most unfortunate, but that's kind of the way it'll be for a while. But like I said, who knows? That whole thing can end up changing. We don't know. We really don't know at this point. So, I would say at this point of the show, what we're going to talk about is Super Bowl and Steeler Nation here. Okay, Ron, that was one of the most defensive Super Bowls I think I've ever seen in my life. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how much it was, how inept was New England's offense. Was it all just great Seattle defense? Or, I mean, put this way, Seattle's defense didn't hold the Rams down like that 2 weeks before.
Oh, I know. And see, that's the funny thing about this game here, okay, is, the Rams were all over the place with the Seahawks, and they barely lost to them. I mean, I think the Rams were just as good as, or maybe even
the Rams special teams lost that game, or they could have easily been in a Super Bowl.
Exactly. If it wasn't for the Rams special teams, they would have been in the Super Bowl this year, and not the Seahawks.
Yeah, but as far as I remember, Matt Stafford threw for over 350 yards and 3 or 4 touchdowns. So I don't know if that's stopping anybody.
Yeah. I mean, Seattle's defense was really touted here, but the thing with this game was New England's defense was every bit as good. They really were. I mean, to see how low that score was when it came to halftime was incredible.
I mean, the one thing, the Seattle quarterback, he avoided getting sacked, where when New England put pressure on, on the Seattle quarterback, he avoided the sack. He got rid of the ball. He kind of ran a little bit or whatever, where the New England quarterback, who they said was the most efficient running quarterback in the league, he didn't do a very good job of running, moving out of the pocket. Like, the pressure was coming from the left-hand side. Why didn't he run towards the right or scramble to the right? Why did he stand there and let himself get sacked on the blind side almost until the fourth? He did that. He stood there and got sacked on the blind side until the fourth quarter, when he finally started moving around.
Exactly. I said the same thing, Ron. It's like, I would think, I know Mike Vrabel's a very intelligent guy, and you think that he would have picked up on that. And
he's not an offensive guy.
Right. He's more defensive as far as that's concerned. That, to tell his quarterback, hey, you're going in the wrong direction every single time. Try going in the other direction. And he did, and he ran well this year. I've saw several
guys. They said he was the most efficient running quarterback in the league this year. I mean, but let me give the kid a break. It's the second year, first big game like this or whatever. So I'll give him a break on that.
Well, one of the things that came up after New England lost the Super Bowl, they are the first team to lose 6 Super Bowls.
Yeah. Hey, Dr. Ted's got a good comment here. The Broncos got robbed that should have been in there. I mean, it was, the Broncos narrowly lost to New England, even though their backup quarterback played. So, I think it'd have been a different game if the Broncos would have gotten there with a healthy quarterback.
Bill. It would not.
I'll go one further, and Dr. Ted may not like this. If the referees wouldn't have butchered a bunch of calls in the Buffalo-Denver game, Buffalo would have moved on, played New England. They probably would have beat New England if they wouldn't have played any better than they did against Denver. And Buffalo would have been that Super Bowl. And I bet you Josh Allen would have had a better game at quarterback yesterday.
Oh yeah, Josh against Seattle. Yeah, I maybe even think Buffalo might have won that game had they.
I mean, Josh Allen wasn't going to stand there all night and let himself be sacked on the blind side all night.
Exactly. Okay. Exactly. And, it just, the thing that ended up really getting me is, it was New England didn't have, what was it? They had a first down. I think it was in the first quarter, and it wasn't until the fourth quarter when they had their next first down.
Yeah.
Which was, I don't know if they keep stats on that, but that was pure insanity. I mean, it was 3 and out the whole time.
And if there's any Seattle fans in here, I'm not knocking them all. They didn't turn the ball over once the whole game. Kudos to them for no turnovers. The quarterback didn't take sacks. Seattle played the way you need to play to win a big game or whatever. They were a little bit conservative kicking all those field goals, but I guess they already knew that New England wasn't going to be able to score on them, so they just kicked the field goals. But again, kudos. no turnovers. Didn't take sacks. Ran the ball well. They did what a championship team needs to do.
Exactly. My one thing with Seattle though, Ron, is when you have so many opportunities to score in a game. All right. And what was it? I saw a stat was Seattle's kicker had I think he had the most points in the NFL this year.
Yes.
And I mean, that's good. That's a good thing. But it's like, okay, that also says that your offense isn't getting in the end zone as much as it should. Okay.
Well, I mean, more of an old style team. They run the ball at least 50-50 and so on. But you're right. They didn't have the explosive offense. But again, maybe that was because they played conservative because they knew the defense could hold people now. And a shout out to that running back. I believe his name is Kenneth Walker. I mean, that guy's been around a couple of years. I know he's run for 1,000 yards per, but he played better than 3 games in the playoffs than I've ever seen him play. He
he was on
level,
fire.
And the other running back was injured, so he had to shoulder all the load.
Yeah, I agree 100%. He really shone brightly during the playoffs this year. He's a real standout for them. And
Chris Collinsworth had a good comment when he made a couple good running plays early. They said, well, he needs to make good running plays because he's not much of a pass catcher and he's not much of a blocker. So,
there was a reference, and I think Collinsworth said something about Le'Veon Bell during this.
Well, he talked about how patient Walker was. Walker just he almost would stutter step up the line, wait until a hole develops, and then go through whatever. He said Le'Veon Bell wouldn't have been wouldn't have had any more patience or whatever. The wait for the hole to open up.
Yep, I remember that. That just. Well,
and only a real fan like Collinsworth would remember. I mean, non-Pittsburgh fan would remember Le'Veon's style that well.
Exactly. I mean, and kudos to Collinsworth for bringing up a point like that.
Well, of course, Collins is an old AFC North man from way back, right?
That's very true. That's absolutely very true. Well, one of the things to me, Ron, is when it was late in the game, New England got a couple of touchdowns, and I said, you know what, something could happen here. But then, what was it? Before you knew it, they May threw a pick six, and it was over by that time.
Even the touchdown he threw to guy used to be in the Eagles, Matt Collins. I mean, that was a great catch, great play. But that was even a 50-50 throw. I mean, that was a great catch, but it also could have been incomplete or whatever. I mean, he was threading the needle in that one. I mean, he had to. He was down. He had to thread the needle in these plays, but that one worked. The other one did. But how about the play he made where the last touchdown in the game, where it looked like he could run the ball in, but he kind of scooped it to the running back Stevenson, and it almost looked like Stevenson let the ball hit the ground, but he did not. He did catch whatever, but like the look on May's face was like, after he did. I mean, I could have ran it in. I threw this risky little shuttle pass to the running back.
Exactly. Oh yeah. So I mean, and I saw a lot of people, and a lot of reaction was, people were like yawn, and I go back to, and it's really kind of reminded me, for some reason, it reminded me of the Steelers' first Super Bowl. Okay, and that was against the Vikings.
Right.
Okay.
Very little offense in that game. Yeah.
And the offense was just. It was. I mean, I think the final score was 16-9 or something in that game. It was a very low scoring.
And Minnesota had almost low yards passing, rushing. They had very little stuff.
Yeah, Fran Tarkenton. They were Mean Joe Green and Dwight White were after him all day. He had no time. He scrambled. He got sacked a lot. And I mean, the only time, what was it? I think Bobby Walden was our punter, and I think he had a punt blocked, and they recovered the block punt.
That Minnesota had real good defense and special teams in that era too.
Yeah, they really did. So,
but don't worry, the fans only had to wait one more year, because the next year they played the Cowboys Super Bowl, and that was a classic.
Oh, that game, yeah, that was one probably one of the best ever.
Lynn Swan won on that pass down the sideline. That catch on
that catch that Lynn Swan made.
That was that was one the game. He doesn't make that catch. They only have 3 Super Bowls.
That was.
And did you see Lynn Swan out there? But he was one of the honorary captains before the game. Him, Joe Montana, and somebody else. And Swan was the only one wearing his Hall of Fame jacket.
I did.
And you told the story. You met him, and he's one of the nicer guys around too.
Oh, he is. Lynn Swan was just absolutely so nice and kind and gracious, and spent a few minutes talking to me. And no pressure. No, I got to go somewhere or do something. No, he was great.
And
Now I kind of want to talk
people
a
don't
little
talk
bit.
about Spawn now because back they didn't throw that much in the air, so he didn't have any passing records. But Len Spawn in the prime of his career in the mid-70s or whatever, he was as good as anybody was in their prime.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, to have him and Stallworth both on the same team, Ron, was just that was if and I'll never forget, it was in the Super Bowl against the Rams. Swan got knocked out. Sat out the second half, and
Yeah,
it was all Stallworth show after that, man.
yeah.
Oh my gosh, that 74-yard bomb from Bradshaw to him, and it wasn't even close. I mean, Stallworth ran past the. And see, one of the things a lot of people don't realize, Stallworth had incredible speed, and he just blew past the safeties. I mean, he was on his way. I mean, there was no stopping him for that.
Yeah, that was a Rams team I think got in as a wild card, so nobody even thought the Rams were going to be in the Super Bowl.
Exactly. The other thing I wanted to touch on real quick was McCarthy hired an offensive coordinator who I never heard of before, but everybody's bragging about this guy. So we'll see. But the big news that's coming out, and it's like I said, you heard it first here on Steeler Nation, okay? I said Aaron Rodgers was in cahoots with Rooney and told him, I'll come back if you get Mike McCarthy on. Well, they're hot and heavy rumors are out on every one of the sports sites in Pittsburgh that Rodgers is coming back for his second year with the Steelers. They said his signing is going to be imminent. So stay tuned for all of that, folks. That's coming up.
Is that good? That's going to hold. What's the young quarterback's name?
It was from Ohio State. No, yeah.
That's going to hold him. Do you think he needs one more year of seasoning watching?
Yeah. Okay. I think he needs one more year of sitting on the bench.
I know you get rid of Tomlin. It was almost like a lot of people thought it was time that allowed the Steelers to move on and kind of start fresh. But now with what's bringing McCarthy in and bringing Rodgers back, that's going to be like a reload and try again with a lot of the same people.
Yeah, they said to a T when they did their exit interviews, they said they could not like Aaron Rodgers more enough. All the players did. They liked his leadership, his capabilities, and everything. And I think, and somebody brought up this point, and I think this is a good point. If you get an offensive coordinator in there that's going to work with Rodgers, okay, know his limitations, his abilities, all right, you can design an offense around that, and it can be an effective offense and score a lot of points.
But it's going to mean giving him more weapons this year, Bill.
Exactly. And that's one thing the Khan has to step up to the plate and do is give them some wide receivers, because they are in sore need of getting some recent, really decent wideouts there. I mean,
don't just bring in Favre. I mean, not Favre. Rodgers something like the Jets made a mistake of bringing in all his boys or whatever, but a lot of those guys were already kind of over the hill, and so on. And it really didn't work out. And when Rodgers gets injured and doesn't play, those guys don't do anything with the other quarterbacks. They only play well if Rodgers is in there. So it'll be interesting. And Rodgers, I think he had a good year because he had 2 years in purgatory. You know what I mean, Bill? When you were in the Jets for 2 years, that's like doing time in purgatory. Thanks.
Yeah, that really is. Sergeant Rock.
And I think he was so happy to be back in the team like that wasn't the Jets last year.
Exactly. It was Will Howard. Thank you, Sergeant.
Howard. Thank you, Sergeant.
Appreciate that. So, any closing thoughts here, Ron?
No. I see somebody's comment. Should we wait for the release of the DJI Vita 3? Well, unless they got FCC approval on the 23rd of December, they'll be seeing it over in Europe and Canada, whatever. But we'll talk about it anyways. But closing thoughts is, we had 2 Super Bowls in a row, the Eagles Super Bowl, the Chiefs last year. What was worse, Super Bowl, this year's or the Eagles smashing the Chiefs last year?
Wow. That's hard to say. That's hard to say. I liked last year's better just because I was rooting for the Eagles. And at
least they were kind of, I don't know, like early in the game, at least they were going for it. They were just kicking field goals. They were really like
Yeah,
throwing
they
the
were
ball and passing and making
pushing the
big
play.
plays and
Yeah.
so on. So it was more exciting. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Yeah.
So
So yeah, I'll definitely say that.
yeah. So I hope we have a better one next year. You never know. I mean, we're due for a classic sooner or later here. So that's about it. Thanks to anybody who watched the Super Bowl drones last night in Drone Nations. If you missed it, go back and watch the replay. Bill did a great job of coaching the Mini 5 Pro, but it was a tough. Hey, going up against the Mavic 4 Pro, that's like going up against the 1970s Steeler dynasty, right?
Yeah, it's exactly right. I was up against the Titan himself, Mr. Marcus Crawford, and my back was against the wall, but I hung in there, and we had a lot of fun. And Ron, kudos to you for this idea, and many thanks to Marcus and Johnny and Ray. That just turned out
We're
so
going to tune it a little
well
bit because it wasn't enough stuff in there that helped. The Neo 2 and Mini 5 Pro are probably more popular than Mavic 4 Pro, but we got to change the categories to help, the little drones be able to overcome, the bigger drone. Because again, probably in popularity, they're more popular.
You're right. And it's like, and probably in terms of volume of sales, they're probably going to sell more than the Mavic 4 Pro.
Hey, Sergeant Rock said watched Super Bowl. It was fun. Thank you, Sergeant Rock.
Yeah, we had a great time on that last night. And Ron, let's put that in the books and do that again next year. That was just
well. I guess it'll have to be the Lito against the 360. That'll be the only two drones we have.
That's true. So we'll see what we can do.
Well, we can do that. Sometimes we can do all-time drone. We could do Air 3S against Mavic 4 Pro. That would be kind of a more fair battle, right?
Exactly. And Dre, you're right about the Patriots, just not ready for prime time.
I mean, they had a great season except for the last two games.
They're kind of like pulling that casserole out of the oven. It's not quite baked and ready yet. So, but great point, Dre. That really is. Want to thank everybody just, for showing up tonight. As always, you guys were great. Fantastic. It was a great time last night. I really like that. I'm going to be on with Johnny and Ray in a couple of weeks, so stay tuned for that. That's going to be a blast. I love being on their show as well, too. So, and also, and I do want to point out, Ron, Clark County, Nevada, I think it's Clark County, Nevada. They got they went to the Parks and Recs department, and they went from, I believe, 8 to 28 parks in the area canal are drones, or you're able to fly your drones, and it was a large effort due to Bob Dempsey. Okay, and the Vegas.
Thank you, Bob.
And so, many thanks to Bob again for that as well too.
We need to get Bob on sometime.
Exactly. Hope you guys have a great rest of your week. As always, it's a great day to fly. Take care, everybody.
Good night.